Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back. Well, a big day today on the Plymouth Satellite, otherwise known as the Ratty Satty, and that's because we are going to take off a lot of these parts from this clapped out motorhome 440 with the thermoquad. I had to say it. But that's coming off. A lot of things are coming off. We're going to tidy everything up, and we're going to add a whole lot of upgrades to this car. And the reason being is that I stupidly signed up for a car show, which is in 3 days. And I plan on driving this car there. So hopefully we can get these parts on and get this thing back on the road and get it running good and running safe, and we'll make it there in time. So got a lot of confidence in that, and that is because we're going to be throwing a whole lot of brand new parts at it. So really the only thing that I've done so far, as you guys saw in the first video, we put a brand new battery in it. We kind of tidied up just a touch, like with the battery cables. They are still absolute garbage. You can see this power cable barely hanging on there, and these things are actually like burning hot just sitting on here. So yeah, not ideal. We're gonna replace those completely with brand new stuff. But this radiator's got to come out. That passenger side dump water pump from the motorhome is going to come out. That intake, the carburetor, plugs, wires, everything, and we're replacing it with all brand new stuff. So feast your eyes. This is the first load of parts. We've still got brand new 3-core aluminum radiator with electric fans and relay kit. We've also got a disc brake setup as well, because as you guys know, that drum is MIA, and this car really can't drive without that. That's like the critical thing that has to be here in the next 3 days to make it to the car show. But we've got an Edelbrock Torker 440 intake. We've also got a Holley 770 Street Avenger carburetor with the electric choke. It's a sweet piece. I ended up finding this thing brand new in the box. A guy bought it to put on a Nova, and he ended up changing the jets out in his existing carburetor, and it fixed his issue. So I scored this thing for damn near half price. Came with the fuel rail, gasket kit, all sorts of goodies. Came with the extra jets as well. But that should really help this thing out and make a big difference. We've also got the correct driver's side water pump housing, which in this case is the aluminum housing. So we've got some fresh hardware. We're going to slap that on there. We've also got to get the right radiator hose. So to make this thing work in this car, there is a really haggard crossover to crossover and then up. And I don't know if you guys can see it right there in front of the fan. This thing was sliced and it was bleeding horsepower sweat all over my driveway out there. Not a big fan of that. So we're going to swap that housing out as well. And as I mentioned, spark plugs, wires, fuel filter. We've also got a new dipstick, because as you see, this car came with the removable dipstick here, where the entire thing actually just comes out with a little bit of a wiggle. So when I went to go check the oil level, the entire thing popped out. And like I said in the first episode, if it breaks, we're replacing with brand new, and we're going to make everything on this car, with the exception of the beautiful exterior, better as we go. So I've also got a brand new battery tray to go into it. Man, and I know I'm missing stuff. Oh, people also notice we also have a Roadrunner horn. So not sure if this is functional or not. Really, the horn buttons on the steering wheel were not functional at all. So we'll go ahead, we'll swap that on there. Hopefully we'll get that thing working, because those are super cool. So enough talking. Let's get to tearing down this engine. So I think I have a feeling why battery cables were hot. And again, I said it's kind of a hodgepodge of wiring, right? So this is the ground cable, okay, which is then connected to that magic right there, which is then connected to another splice, which is then connected to another splice. And this is the thing that was actually wrapped, if you remember, underneath the steering wheel when I yanked it off in the first video. This is crazy. It's like a extension cord to an extension cord to an extension cord, and that's how fires happen. Alrighty guys, so I've got the intake gasket pulled and started to clean things up a bit. And before I get too far, I wanted to show you guys how clean the inside of this dang engine is. So again, I'm not used to seeing this. A lot of the cars that I've gotten recently have been completely roached out, just as bad on the inside of the engine as the outside of the car, which is kind of sad. But yeah, it looks really, really clean on there, on the inside of that. Now, not gonna lie, this is my first 440 build, so I'll just go ahead and say that. So I think I got the wrong intake gaskets. I only got like the sides, did not get the actual pan itself. So I went ahead, I just cleaned this up, and yeah, I think it came out all right. So I got my hardware all scrubbed up, got these little bars that go across the front and back all cleaned up as well. So from here, guys, I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna take a razor blade and finish cleaning up kind of the front and the back, and we're gonna reuse that original gasket. So we'll go ahead, we'll lay a nice little bead of RTV down on the front and the back, put the gasket over top of that, and then put those bars down front and back, and seal this thing back up again, and then test fit our engine. All right, guys, we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna skip forward quite a bit here, and in all honesty, putting the parts back on the engine is exactly the opposite of what I just showed you guys. And so I stayed up last night until about 1 o'clock in the morning on a work night. Would not recommend it. So today was kind of a tough day, but I'm fired up because, well, mainly the car show is in 2 days, and we still have to get this thing running, driving. Unfortunately, my brakes haven't come in yet, so worst case scenario, we're gonna try to get the drum fixed enough so that way we can actually take this thing out for a spin. But let me just show you guys what it looks like. Now, first off, it looks fantastic. And there's a lot that happened here, so kind of let me run system by system, and I'll walk you guys through every single thing that I did. So first off, electrical. We knew we had some big issues there. One of the most concerning things, you feel around in the engine bay and you touch wires, specifically like the positive terminal post here was burning hot. The old connection point here, okay? So I pulled that off, and I mean, as if, you know, the terminal itself is bad enough, right? Then you kind of run a little bit further down, and then you find that. And I mean, this was hidden under about 6 feet of electrical tape, okay, but there's a ton of exposed hot wire there. And then you got this jumper, which then connects directly to the actual starter. So I'm not sure if that was an original like connection point from the factory. Maybe it went to the starter solenoid from there. I'm not sure, because this came out of a motorhome. But I do know that that's not right. You're not supposed to do that. So we're gonna go ahead and toss that. And I did put in a 2-gauge wire that goes from the positive terminal directly to the battery. Now there was another hot wire here that ended up, and again, this was connected to another one that was on the red one that I just showed you. And this goes directly to the starter solenoid, and so, or the starter relay, excuse me. But I ended up shortening up that wire quite a bit, cleaned everything up, inspected the entire wire. It all looks good as it sits right now. And then also the ignition lead, this black wire here going down to the starter itself, also shortened that up quite a bit, because again, there's like 2-foot, 3-foot jumpers on all the like the critical wiring here, and so simplified that quite a bit, and it should make a pretty good difference. Let's see, rest of electrical. So we've got our ground wire running to the top of the intake there. This car originally had another ground that was connected behind the radiator, like on this bolt here. I'll have to check that up and see if that's needed. But there was a ground going there as well. But I have not cleaned up anything over here yet. The reason being, I have not had power on long enough to really check and see if there's voltage on any of these wires. Now, if they are hot, we need to figure out exactly what they're supposed to go to. And with this being ripped out of a motorhome, and I'm serious, it just got pulled out of that and slammed in this car. And yeah, there's a lot of loose ends here, and we're gonna have to dig into these and go ahead and cover those up. Now, you know, I think it would be wise, we're just gonna go ahead and swap in a new electronic ignition, which is going to solve the majority, if not all, of these loose wire issues. And certainly the pink electrical tape also, that's all over on this side of the engine. So we're not quite done over there, we still got some work to do. Onto the cooling side of things. This is where things start to get a little bit exciting. So I popped off the old the water pump housing here, and with this coming from the motorhome and I believe the light duty trucks as well, had the passenger exiting water pump, so we switched it over to the driver's side. Again, this is the aluminum housing that I put on here, and then we did throw on a brand new the front here, the impeller. And the reason for that, when I opened it up, it was completely full of rust. I'm not sure if you guys could see that, but also the inside of the thermostat was full of rust as well. I went ahead, I threw on a 180-degree thermostat inside of here, sealed everything up, and it better be watertight. Another thing too, this thing had a really ugly crossover tube that kind of went up and went down, which is what deletes the heater on this car. So I threw in a couple copper plugs here on the top. I may need to utilize one of these at least, because this car is getting electric fans, which brings me to the one that's not on the car yet, or the item that's not on the car that's really exciting. So I believe this is made by Alloy Works. I'll throw a link in the description below, but this is a 3-core aluminum radiator. It's got the transmission cooling on it as well, and I'm really happy with this. I think I paid 275 bucks shipped to my house, free shipping, and it's a pretty sweet piece. It comes with a relay kit, which, to be honest, I have a Jegs relay kit that's a whole lot better quality than what this is. So I'll take a look through what they sent, but there's a good chance that I'll use the other one. But it comes completely attached. It gets rid of the like the side holders here that held the original radiator in, and this thing should just bolt straight into the car. And yeah, pretty sweet unit here. I think I got this, ooh, and it came with a cap too, which is important to note. But I got this delivered to my house in like 3 days. So pretty awesome. I think I ordered actually all these parts on Labor Day, and as it is today, what is it, Thursday? So yeah, things got here pretty quick, except for them damn brakes. So those are shipping from the manufacturer, unfortunately, and I have no visibility as to when they're gonna be here. So that's pretty much the cooling system on this thing. We're gonna put new hoses on it when we get it in just a minute, but it really, it should make a big difference in cooling, and it should be a little bit of a horsepower gain too with pulling that fan off the front of the motor. I did have to go to the hardware store, pick up some new bolts here because it had that spacer with the fan also. So we went ahead and did that. Let's see what else. On to, well, I guess the glaring thing sitting on top of the motor here. So I did throw on an Edelbrock Torquer intake, which has a Holley 770 Street Avenger on top of that. I had to throw the return kit on here, the spring return kit, but I am still waiting. You do need the lever extension that comes out here, which will not only mount the throttle cable better, but then also the kickdown bracket as well. And once that gets here, I'll show you. That's not going to prevent us from starting the car today. I do have the cable attached, and then also this return spring kit is exactly where that needs to be. So it looks really, really good. It does have an electric choke, which we're still going to have to hook up as well. Maybe we can utilize one of these hot wires, which I'm sure there are plenty laying around this engine bay. But we'll kind of do whatever makes the most sense here, but we can put that in. The fuel system, you guys saw I threw in a new fuel pump, just an AutoZone special there. New gasket on that. It still does have the original line here on the top, which I think somebody cut it off, and it does not have a barb on the end of it. So it is just a slick tube there. It really needs to kind of have a nipple, so we're going to go ahead and order that fuel line and swap that out. It's also got the glass fuel filter, and then going up here to the Holley fuel rail, which attaches directly to the carb. So a lot of new goodies on this thing. Oh, one last thing. We did throw the MSD street wires on this thing along with new plugs as well. And the plugs looked really good, and really the inside of the engine looked extremely good. So, you know, I'm pretty sure this thing was a runner not too long ago. And I mean, of course, we just had it running a couple days ago here at the house as well. But we've got all the vacuum lines cleaned up, put new hoses back here from the valve cover back, and then also from the brake booster. And the vacuum advance also hooks into the front. And there still is on this carb, there's one extra port there, which I do have capped at the moment. So if we need that for any purpose, we'll have that also. But I still have the stock coil on there. We'll just use that to start it. I did pick up an MSD blaster coil. I tend to throw these on just about every car that I have. So should be pretty sweet, guys. I really hope that all I'm gonna have to do is breathe on the key and this thing will fire up. So let's go ahead, let's get this radiator mounted up, we'll get it filled up, connected, get our hoses on, tighten our hose clamps, and get the fire extinguisher ready just in case, I'm pretty sure everything's good to go. I double, triple checked everything, but you never know with this kind of stuff. So we'll wheel it outside, hopefully get it fired right up, and bring it up to temp, and yeah, I'm so excited. Well, that ain't gonna work. All right, well, that took entirely too long and ran into some fitment issues here with our Alloy Works radiator. Now, you know, again, the radiator fits fine. I did have to do some trimming on the mount bolts here, but it did go back into the factory mounts, all four corners bolted in. The issues came when I tried to fit this electric fan. Now, the way that it came out of the box, I went to put it in, and it was like the exact same depth back as far as like where this pulley bolt is, like directly against it. Would not have worked, would definitely have created an issue. So I even tried to fit it from the front, wouldn't work at all. And so I put my thinking cap on a little bit, and I ended up just flipping the shroud around. So this shroud is actually now inside out. The fan is mounted on the other side. I've got at least a solid 1.5 inches of clearance. I will probably have to go back through and glue in these inserts or epoxy in those inserts there, but I got everything bolted up and it's holding just fine. So we've got our new hoses in there. We've got our transmission hoses as well connected into there. And because I was feeling froggy, and again, one of the rules of the duct tape drags is that you have to have a coolant overflow, so went ahead, drilled a couple holes, threw that baby in there, and plumbed it up, clamped it up, and it's time to fire up. So let's go ahead, let's push this thing outside. Let's cross our fingers, hopefully it runs, right? You better get the fire extinguisher. Let's do this. You helping? There we go. ready? Everything good?
No, not yet. Not in park.
Okay, I'll throw it in park. All right. I got it. Watch out. Okay. Watch out. See if she fires up.
Is it in park?
Yes, sir. I don't even have to adjust the idle on this thing. It's running pretty good. And she just purrs. Stumbles a little bit at the beginning right there. Let's tune that up. Pretty cool. Here, you want to hold this in the back of the car and I'll rev it up a little bit?
Yeah. Right here?
Yep, down there. There you go. Ready? Hold your breath.
It didn't blow anything.
Didn't blow anything?
Yeah. I'm sure it didn't.
Awesome. Well, actually, while we're in here, see if these lights work. The headlights on? Go check.
Yeah? Run.
Alright, our brights work.
Hold on, Dad.
Hey, go in and push the brake pedal. Push the brake pedal down.
Why?
I want to check the lights. Oh, that one's already on. Got them on? There we go. The lights even work. Yeah.
The brakes work?
No, the brakes do not work. The lights, yes, they work.
Oh. You said that the brakes don't.
No, the brake lights. Yeah, it's got
Why
that.
doesn't it show how fast it is right here?
Because we're not going
Driving?
fast. Yeah. Pretty cool. So, don't want to run it too long. We still have our electric fans to wire up. But pretty awesome.
It just clicks a little and then it stops.
Yeah. She fired right up. So, you guys are probably noticing here my fancy way that I mounted my coil. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have to run a spacer on this carb to be able to put the coil back in the factory location. It just doesn't fit with the clearance of this fuel rail right here. So, got it kind of flipped upside down. We still have to put that bolt across there. But, what's up?
When are you gonna put that tube down there?
Which tube?
Tubes that connects down there?
It connects up here to the top.
Oh. So then
If
that,
it overflows, then it goes on the ground.
No. It doesn't?
So
It does?
we got a few things left to tidy up in here. Of course, I want to run all this stuff. We're going to zip tie it, loom everything, so that way it looks nice and tidy here. The spark wire management in these engine bays, I mean, some of these I swear are probably a foot too long. I want to clean all that stuff up, get those in a better location so they're not like completely in my face and laying over the top of the motor. But we still got a ground wire. I looked at some factory cars actually today, and they mount the ground wire down and around up to the top of that mount right there. So we'll go ahead and do that, and then deal with this mess over here. So
yeah.
all this wiring from the original electronic ignition, and again, all these kind of loose ends here, still need to test those to see if in fact they are hot, or if they're you know, ignition 12 volts, because we will also need that for our electric choke. We're going to need that for our relay kit for the fans, so it could come in handy to do that. So, and then on top of that, all we've got left is brakes, a shifter, which should be here tomorrow, and we'll be doing burnouts in this bad boy. What do you think?
Yeah.
So with that, guys, I think I'm gonna go ahead and end it here. So if you haven't done so yet, hit that subscribe button, and I think we're gonna get right back to work and get this thing closer to being on the road. You ready? Okay, I'll see y'all again real soon.